It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce, Michael, and RIley. I know a story of high strangeness or two. Let's do this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I am your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
And your super producer,
Bray.
Hi, boys.
Hi.
How's
Hello.
it going? We're back after a week without my guys. We're in the Dogman days of BCC Jet Ski Summer. We're continuing our season-long trend of sharing stories of high strangeness somehow related to water. Sometimes it's a bit of a stretch, but not this week. Now, both of you guys are on still or have recently come back from being on vacation. I got to ask up front, have you had a chance to get back on any jet skis lately?
Unfortunately, no. Although when I was in Puerto Escondido, I was riding a scooter a lot, which is the jet ski of land. So
It's well known.
It's well known. It's a known fact. So I think in a lot of ways, I felt still connected to the spirit of the ski.
How close were you to the water on your Mexican vacation?
The second week, very close. We were in this little beach town called Puerto Escondido. Which it means the hidden port, which I love. But it was like, that episode of Black Mirror where they're in San Junipero. You know what I'm talking about? Have you guys watched that show?
God, you're gonna out me. I've not really watched any Black Mirror.
No.
Well, guess what? Neither have I.
This smells like TV Club to me.
I know
God.
San Junipero is a
side.
popular episode of that series. I've
It's
never
one of my
seen it
favorite
though.
ones. Anyways, people that have seen it that are watching this town is that. It's like this little beach party town. Everyone that's there is like somehow just like gorgeous. It's just all these like glistening, barely dressed people.
That got Bryce's attention.
Wow.
The description of the city didn't, but the moment you said hot people are there, Bryce went, "Wow."
Yeah,
because I'm a place where there's not a lot of hot people. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was something else. And like every night, like as the sun goes down, like 100, maybe 200 people all just like sit on the beach and watch the sunset together, like every night. And it's the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen. And people are just like playing games and sitting out on towels, listening to music. It like looks like a set. Like this is like, how is this place real? It's unbelievable.
Do you find yourself like questioning your life? You're like, why am I working for a living? Why do I live in Los Angeles?
Oh yeah.
You're like, why do I not live here full time?
Yes, the questions ran very deep while I was in Mexico.
What would you do? What would your job be if you were to stay there?
Well, actually, the last
Podcast producer.
Yeah, exactly. Can we get this thing going here, guys? I can deal with the 2-hour time difference. The last day we were there, I got offered a job at the vegan restaurant that we went to like every day.
No way, really? Like what? As a chef?
No, it was like a waiter. It's all these like
That's amazing.
super pitted like beach dudes that all work there. And the one guy was like, you've been in here every day. If you want to just stay and just work here, you can.
Wow.
I want to just stay.
Because they know, right? They see it in your eyes. They're like, this guy needs an excuse to not go back.
Exactly.
Oh,
but yeah, and then the other week we were in Mexico City, which is truly one of the most incredible cities I've ever seen. It's just so beautiful there. The best restaurants, the nicest people, like the architecture, the history, the museums. It was just like, it was incredible. I had such a great time. Very recharged. Yeah.
Any BCC related ephemera while you were down there? Like, because Mexico City is supposed to be like a UFO hotspot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no UFOs, but we did look into and find an alley that's supposed to be haunted. It's Avocado Alley, And the story goes that there was a child who was killed by a soldier in this alley, and then the soldier lost his mind basically. Like he was so struck with grief that he ended up like hanging the child from a tree, which doesn't really seem like would make it better, but that's what he did. And then I think he also killed himself. So the alley's supposed to be haunted by this soldier and this child. And
Whoa.
we found that, and we walked down it at dusk during a thunderstorm, and it was like raining, and there was like thunder and rolling in the distance, and it was very, very spooky. And I did record a bunch of audio to see if I got any EVPs, but I don't think we did, unfortunately.
Dude, well, certainly appreciate that attempt. How brutal would it be if you're a kid and the person who murdered you, you're now stuck together as ghosts? Like that would
that
suck.
That would be unfortunate. Yeah.
That's why it can't be like that in the afterlife, right? It has to be more than just that, because if you get stuck like that, you're screwed.
Yeah, hopefully they're on some sort of parallel planes or something. Yeah, maybe, But yeah, it was that I was looking for ghosts, looking for anything paranormal there, and got a spooky walk. It's the best I could do.
You take it where you can get it. Speaking of being stuck, Bryce, it sounds like from the groans in your voices hearing Riley describe Mexico that maybe you're feeling a little stuck in your vacation and it's time to get out of British Columbia.
Well, I'm not looking at glistening bodies. I'm more of a camp counselor to a bunch of kids, mine, my sister-in-laws, and a few other people's kids. So I'm kind of on that duty, which is not really vacation-like. Thank God for the beautiful scenery of the Pacific Northwest. But I'm actually it's having a great time though, because the kids need that fresh air and to be with their cousins. So we're having a good time, but no glistening bodies up this way.
I am enjoying the photos you've posted of just you and baby together on the beach. You posted a picture recently where you're sitting in a folding chair with baby, and the way you're dressed, like you look like you should be stepping into a house that's about to be carried off by balloons. Like you totally look like a character out of Up. You're like a mix of the old man and the Cub Scout. I don't know how you did it, but
I know I am such an old man and yet a boy at heart at the same time. It's a total fucking paradox. I don't know how I live with myself, but
yeah,
that's goals to achieve, really.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
the best of both worlds, is what that is.
We're having a good time.
No, go on, please.
Oh, I was just saying, this is the first time I brought baby anywhere. So watching her enjoy like farm life and a place like outside of Los Angeles has been amazing. She's just having the time of her life.
Now, last we spoke, you were in an area where Bigfoot, you said, easily could come meandering past. Any Bigfoot sightings, any Bigfoot wood carvings even? Have you seen any cool Bigfoot statues or merch while you've been in British Columbia?
Oh my God. Yes. Bigfoot merch. I have to take a picture of this fucking t-shirt I got. It's basically Bigfoot walking a Frenchie and he's holding a poo bag. I'm like, that's me. All my nieces are like, Uncle Bryce, you got to get that shirt. That's basically you. And I'm like, this is after I just gave like this long-winded speech about how I don't like Bigfoot merch. And then I go off and buy a fucking Bigfoot t-shirt at the local t-shirt shop.
It's Frenchie
when you
merch.
choose it for yourself, then it's okay.
then it's okay.
Yeah.
But they also had, I'll send this to you guys. They also had a chart of mermaid tails, Salish Sea mermaid tails. I thought you guys would appreciate that. But
absolutely.
A great little t-shirt shop.
What if you cracked it open and you just saw an illustration of you and Tate and Neonis, like in the jet ski dimension? And that's the moment you knew you were dead.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm waiting for that crossover moment where I see someone rocking some BCC merch or see a bumper sticker or hear someone listening to it. I know it's coming.
Yeah, guys, you're out there. Get that merch. You know what? That's a perfect little segue here because, if you haven't guessed, there is no guest this week. The three of us obviously have a lot to catch up on, including a listener's eyewitness account of mysterious lights recently seen over San Diego. some more
Wow.
radio signals from outer space, and a possible Bigfoot skull that was discovered. We'll get into all that. That all happened while
Yeah.
you guys were gone. We've had a lot of people asking us to comment on it. And that's all before we get to this week's story of high strangeness. But before we get into all that, we really should do a little tiny bit of clubhouse keeping. So speaking of merch, Bryce, what do you want to tell our Club Scouts?
Well, just to remind that it's not too late to hop on the band Jet Ski and celebrate the season with your very own Jet Ski Summer T-shirt designed by James Mulholland. This 80s inspired Ocean Pacific throwback depicts Bigfoot riding, what else, guys? A jet ski, and it can be found on the Bigfoot Collectors Club TeePublic shop, which you can find in the show notes of this episode or in the fabulous link tree that Michael created, found in our bios on our Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club and Twitter at Bigfoot Pod. See us there.
Speaking of summer fun, we make BCC for fun, but not for the money. Bigfoot Collectors Club is primarily a crowd-funded enterprise, which means we really don't make any money creating this content unless we are supported by listeners like you. You can tell I wrote this copy after a long day of research.
Or just paying bills, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Please consider supporting the show by pledging $5 a month over at our Patreon, BCC The Other Side, at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club. Your patronage, guys, it will unlock the parallel dimension of BCC where you'll receive 3 exclusive bonus episodes every month, plus the entire archives of The Other Side, which is quickly headed towards 200 episodes. Listen, guys, if you've been listening to the show for 5.5 years, and you haven't pledged just for a month, let's do this. Let's make August Patreon month, right? I'm just calling it out of the top of it. Just first-time patrons, try it out for a month. You can binge as much as you want. If you don't like it and don't feel like supporting the show, then you can drop out, and we appreciate any support we can get. But I just want to say, like, we do this show as a labor of love. We really can't pay the bills doing this show. And also this show wouldn't exist without the patrons that we have over on the other side. There's like 473 of you guys that are keeping this show alive. And we have, I'm bad at math, but at least 10 times the amount of listeners to that, I think, if not more. So
yeah. Definitely more, but
definitely more.
We'll call it that.
Okay. It's that I can visualize. As someone who's bad at math, I can visualize anything that's 10 times something. All right. So if you haven't done it, throw us a bone. Check it out. We know times are tough, but we're making all this content for free. And you'll get more. You'll get 3 episodes every month at least. You'll get all the archives. You'll get some exclusive posts, some exclusive videos. And if you're really feeling generous and you really want to support the show for $9 a month, what can they get?
Well, they get access to the ultra terrestrial tier, which is a whole other layer of the Patreon that's mainly framed around the scores from the show.
But also quickly becoming something else.
Yeah. As soon as you gave me the reins to do whatever I wanted with it, it became something else. It became this platform where I'm posting demos of an album I'm working on. So this is music that I'm writing. We're posting the songs that we create for the show. So there's a exclusive BJ and the Shadowbats track on there. There's a Club Bryce track on there. Actually, just recently, I posted a soundscape I made in Mexico City where I just walked through the whole city, and as I was walking around, I would just record some audio of all these places I went by. There's just music everywhere there. So I just created this thing it's just like a walk through Mexico City. So it's just this ambient sort of meandering soundscape of going through this beautiful city, including the walk down Avocado Alley. So you can check for yourself. Maybe you'll hear a little ghost in there. I don't know. Subscribe and see.
Sounds incredible. Also, we've talked about doing some more of your famous guided UFO meditations that you've done. That's right. In the past. So
that is right. There will be more of those available on the ultra terrestrial tier as well. And as Michael was saying, with this month, if you want, let's make it Patreon month. Give it a shot. try it out. You can download the episodes. So if you don't want to binge them all at once, just go on there and download a bunch and see if you like it. And if you're digging it, then please continue to support the show. If you're not, that's fine too. You can just go on there and download it all. So,
it's like
just
it
go
never
for it. Give it a whirl.
happened.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you want to support the show without dropping 5 cents or $5, how about writing us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and help bring BCC to new listeners? If you do, we might rate it on the air like this one.
Well, this review comes to us from Mystery Yeet Person.
Very millennial,
Okay.
or Gen Z, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
Very Gen Z.
Yes. Well, this bestie writes, on the edge of me seat, you are the rom-com of government and alien. Will they, won't they? Along for the ride, hoping they will. Winky face, 5 stars.
Great. Mr.
Beautiful.
Yeet Person.
Well done.
Gorgeous. We love it. Creative and loving. That's what we're all about here at Bigfoot Collectors Club. And listen, I've gotten a few messages. If you're not on Apple Podcasts, just give us a 5-star on the app that you listen to. That is fantastic. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Apple's just one of those that they measure the algorithm, blah, 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 and it helps get the show to more people. So that's why we ask you to do it. All right, guys, let's put away the brooms, the dustpans, everything else, and let's get into it. Let's talk some BCC news roundup. These are stories that happened while you guys were away, and we haven't really had a chance to talk about it. So, Riley, get ready because we have some BCC news. All right,
Beautiful.
so this one, first we've got kind of an update. This is about the Georgia Guidestones that, if you guys recall, were bombed and then subsequently demolished. These were a strange outsider art with some perhaps questionable, perhaps some fine, some maybe questionable things written about what the human race should do in a post-apocalyptic situation if they're trying to rebuild the human race. And it caught the attention of conspiracy theorists who believed in that these messages were satanic because it talked about keeping the global population below 500 million. A lot of people thought this is a one world, new world order situation. There was even a candidate for Georgia, what am I trying to say? Congress, who was saying it was satanic. Anyway, so those have been demolished, and we got a message we were talking about it a couple weeks back with Luke Boyce and Michael Morisi, and one of our listeners pointed out on Instagram, KY Pa, just a heads up, if you haven't heard since this episode was recorded, the probable identity of R.C. Christian is a man named Herbert Hinsey Kirsten, who had some not so good views on race and thought we should sterilize people with low IQs. For more information, I recommend listening to episode 195 of the QAnon Anonymous podcast and Anti-Q podcast. Haven't checked that out yet, but there you go. There's a free podcast recommendation.
Wow.
I did look this guy up. This guy sounds... I didn't get too much into a deep dive of it, but the idea is that maybe this guy, a lot of people think this guy, Dr. Herbert H. Kirsten, Hinsey Kirsten of Fort Dodge, Iowa, was the guy who funded these Guidestones to begin with. He died in 2005. And looking into him and looking into his obituary, they talk about how like he was super conservative, churchgoer guy, you know, a naturalist, a conservationist, and just there's a thing in his bio that's like in his obituary that's like, and he was very concerned with population control. So there's all these like clues that he was maybe the guy who had come up with these and funded the Guidestones. The other bad news about this dude was it seems to be that he was a white supremacist and involved with the KKK. So,
yikes!
Let me just start distancing myself.
Yeah,
from
maybe
any,
not a Rosicrucian,
Georgia
but there's
Guidestone talk.
Yeah. So there's no proof that this is the guy, but you know, look into it. Go look it up. if that's the case,
will.
then
I'm
Georgia
fascinated.
Guidestones rest in pieces. But still, let's not bomb weird. I still say let's not bomb weird tourist
Weird
attractions.
stuff.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
not
totally.
bomb it.
Wow.
Let's just not bomb things.
Yeah,
in
let's
general.
not bomb shit.
That's like a good place to start.
Kind of standard rule right there. First of all, thank you to that Instagram follower. I saw that too, that message, and it caught my attention. I was like, oh, I had never heard of that, because I did a story of high strangeness on the Georgia Guidestones, and my research never led me to that guy. So I'll be listening to their podcast for sure. I'm sure as hell interested in what they have uncovered or what evidence might link that guy to the
Yeah.
Guidestones. Because if
Yeah,
that's the case, fuck that guy. But like you said,
Yeah.
Mike, if it's still built by some type of enlightenment movement or something, or someone else, then by all means they have the right to express their views, and through money, through art, a public art space like that.
The conspiracy theorists were afraid of your theory that it was a Rosicrucian, a secret order, doing it, because they see the Rosicrucians as being this the satanic cult, because
Right.
anything
No,
that's
I get that. Yeah.
But
totally.
it turns out that
what's
it might have just
interesting-
been a fellow far right idiot who made
Yeah.
it.
That would be ironic, though, wouldn't it? If it was made by a far right conspiracy theorist and then blown up by a far right conspiracy theorist.
Oh God, wouldn't that
something
be just
good to that?
Yeah. Who knows? They'll remain a mystery, and unfortunately, we'll never really know. They're gone. So
it's true.
All right. Well, we'll put that to rest. And in the meantime, let's move on to, did you guys hear, this is actually sent over to me. I had seen it, but Jen Kirkman shot me a text about MIT discovering new radio signals from outer space.
Yes.
Some more radio signals. Yeah, so basically, like, they found unusual radio signals. This comes from Boston.com. The Globe wrote about it, but I don't have a subscription, so I couldn't read the article that Jen sent me.
I hate that.
But
I hate that.
I know.
Paywall.
Well, we really should pay for the journalism. Astronomer, again, guys, support the things that you consume, right?
Right.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Astronomers from Canada and MIT have detected an intriguing and unusually persistent radio signal from a galaxy several billion light years from Earth. According to MIT, the signal is what is known as a fast radio burst, or FRB. These massively strong bursts of radio waves usually last for a few milliseconds. And what sets this new signal apart is that it lasts for up to 3 seconds. Deepening the mystery even further, this FRB was intercut with period bursts of radio waves that repeated every 0.2 seconds in a clear pattern. I'm going to pull a Bryce and just refer everybody to the rest of the science in this article.
Yeah.
Now they're still saying, they're still like, it's probably a star. It's probably coming from a certain kind of star. But it is cool that there's a repeatable pattern that's happening in this signal, right? I mean, they talk about it.
Definitely.
They said it sounds like a heartbeat. They described it as sounding like a heartbeat.
That's cool.
It's so vast and expansive, and there's so little we know about our own oceans. I can't imagine just the breadth of knowledge we have no idea about that comes from the universe. So in all likelihood, who knows? It could be anything created by universal nature. But yeah, if there's pattern there, then that at the same other side of the token, that's so big, there can't just be us. There's got to be so many just planets teeming with life that have come to this point in their technological advances where they're sending out, radio signals. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it either way. I feel like we've got to come to a point where we're gonna detect another type of civilization here pretty soon, right? Or, I mean, I would imagine within the next 50 to 100 years, it's gotta just happen. We're making so many advances.
So. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the amount that we're looking now, and even just like, this is different, but like with the James Webb telescope, the amount of detail we're bringing back in these images is just incredible. And we're like, starting to be able to look at the atmospheres of distant exoplanets, and
it's insane.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's an exciting time for astronomy. I almost said astrology, but that's a
that too. Why not?
Sure, it's an exciting time for that too. Why not?
So typically, this next bit of news, we'd save letters like this one for our L Files episodes at the end of every month. But because this one that we got from a listener was related to this recent news event, I thought we would read it today. Now, this is about some mysterious lights that appeared over San Diego at the end of June. And I think this happened the week that we were recording Tenny's episode. I cannot remember if we even touched upon it, but it was one of those that let's see, this was I'll pull up the story here, and all this stuff will be in our show notes. But basically, eyewitnesses captured lights of over the ocean on this Monday night in San Diego in late June, Monday, June 27th. And very quickly, the military basically came out and they were like, that was us. We were running flares. We were doing flare experiments, flare testing, or whatever you want to call it. The same stuff that they said, it was the excuse for
Phoenix Lights.
Phoenix Lights, right? So, okay, great. Mystery solved, right? Well, we got this listener who wrote into us. And Bryce, why don't you read this letter? Because I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, let's do it. Howdy, boys. I wanted to reach out and share my personal experience with the most recent Mysterious Lights over San Diego event. As you may or may not know, on June 28th, around 9 p.m., several mysterious flashing lights appeared just off the coast of us here in San Diego. Now, I happen to live about 7 miles inland from the coast and just south of Miramar Marine Air Corps Base. Hey, from the first Top Gun. So I am quite familiar with military jets, copters, and the usage of flares. Nice. Now, I happened to be talking with my wife when I turned to head back to our couch. I happened to glance out our patio door and saw 3 to 4 immobile flashing lights over what would be either the coastal area or the ocean itself. Because of how much air traffic we have, I immediately realized this was not normal. I called my wife over and we watched as these lights flashed orange, red, and oddly blue. After about 2 to 3 minutes, they just blinked out. They didn't fade as flares normally do, after which I told her that was a goddamn UFO. Now, of course, the military had no comment to begin with, but soon they fell back on the good old, it was flares, don't worry. But boys, believe me when I say, these were not flares. Anywho, thanks for reading my story, and I have already scheduled my regression. Respectfully, Bryson J. Breedlove, former firefighter and EMT. Wow, thank you, Bryson.
Wow,
Crazy.
yeah, seriously. Awesome.
There you
letter.
go. Here is another trained observer who's working in that specific area who's telling you, I know what planes and copters look like. This is not that.
Right, and also the detail about the way that flares fade out and that these didn't, and the changing of the colors, and those are great details to note and pay attention to.
Yeah,
based on knowledge of the subject.
Guys, if you're in San Diego, if you listen to the show, if you saw those lights at night, write in or leave us a voice memo, even better, and tell us what you think you saw. Let's get these eyewitness. We want these eyewitness reports like this.
Heck yeah, we do. Hell yeah, we do. And look, I'll tell you, this off the coast of San Diego is where that Tic Tac UFO was captured in that Nimitz striker group. So San Diego, the coast of California, Catalina Island, these are all hot spots for UFO activity. And what we're learning more and more is that military bases in general are hot spots for UFO activity.
Mm-hmm. I also just love that we're getting firsthand accounts of like paranormal news that's happening in real time.
I know. That's pretty great. Much appreciated. Thank you.
I love it. Bring it. I want more. Thank you, Bryson, for that. That was incredible. All right. Let's move on to this next story. So this kind of came and went. By the time our listeners hear this, because we're recording it a little bit in advance, the story will be a faint memory. But we had so many people asking us to comment on it, and I think it's actually interesting, regardless of the outcome. But this is about, if you guys had been on Instagram in the past few weeks, you may have noticed this guy named Nathaniel Coyote Peterson. He's a YouTube personality. He's a wildlife presenter who claimed to have found a primate skull in British Columbia, where not too far, I guess, from where Bryce is right now. So
First of all, what is a wildlife presenter?
So he's a guy who I believe, from the stuff I've watched, he's like one of these like, I'm going out into the woods. I'm going to show you, like, here's how you track. Here's what trees do. He's like, I think a lot
Gotcha.
of kids watch his videos about him exploring the woods, basically in the
Gotcha.
forest, and
Okay.
then so animals, fish, all that kind of stuff. So, as far as he might really know his stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not, haven't watched any of the videos before
I don't know
today.
either. I have never heard of this man.
Well, that's because we're Gen Xers and we have no idea what's on YouTube either. So anyway, so this story came out to follow that up. Wildlife presenter claims to find Bigfoot skull in British Columbia. Here's what scientists think. This is from James Felton, senior staff writer at iflscience.com. And this is just to give you a little background on the story. American YouTuber and wildlife presenter Nathaniel Coyote Peterson surprised his fans a few weeks ago with a Facebook post in which he claimed to have found a non-human primate skull. Leaking pics here before they are taken down and before government/official try to cease our footage, Peterson wrote in the post, adding that he was waiting for a primatologist to take a closer look at the skull. Absolutely unreal. We thought it was a bear skull when we found it. I can 100% guarantee it is not. Peterson carefully did not mention Bigfoot in the post, though it was Sasquatch, which he was hunting for in his show, merely hinting that it could be from something mysterious. I don't know if it's what y'all think it might be, he wrote, but I cannot explain finding a primate skull in the Pac Northwest without wondering, what do you believe? His innuendo turned into outuendo when he titled his video on the subject, Bigfoot Skull Found in Canada. In the video, Peterson stumbles across the skull while his crew attempt to take overhead shots using drones. After initially declaring it to be a bear skull, he suggests, I'm almost afraid to say it, that could be a Sasquatch skull. While his skeptical crew tells him to put it back, believing it to be from a primate. He places it in his bag without their knowledge, which is illegal to do without a permit, assuming that the skull is a natural object, and removes it from the park. The video ends with no conclusion on what the skull actually is. Now, here's where I'm going to stop the story, because I have updates past this. But basically, all the scientists took one look at it, and they're like, that's a gorilla skull, or probably a recreation of a gorilla skull, because it doesn't look real. Okay?
Yep.
It doesn't look like it's a real skull. You guys might want to pull up photos of this if you want to see it, if you're listening, or Bryce and RIley, just for a reference. So that video is out there for a couple days, and then they followed it up with a second video. I'm stepping away from this story now. And I watched a second video, and the second video they bring it home. They're like, how could you steal this? Blah, blah, blah. And I have to say, I watched the first video not knowing where it was all going to lead. And I was like, this guy is acting. This is really bad acting. This looks super fake. This looks super planted. And I was like, you can tell that they're all ad-libbing and they're not very good at doing it. I was like, this is clearly fake. But why would this guy do this, right? And in the second video, he takes it all the way up to the line of being like, we got to find out what this is. And then there's like a record scratch. And then he and one of his crew guys are like, it's fake. It's not real.
Oh my God.
And the whole thing was supposed to be about a lesson about taking bones away from where you find them, right?
Oh, right. So it wasn't
Okay.
fucking clickbait, get me famous for a hot second. Give me a break.
Yeah, he
all
was
the
teaching us an important lesson.
Yeah, so all these comments were like, okay, I would say this isn't clickbait, and this was okay if you wanted to do a little bait and switch, but why would you do this on the YouTube and then tell people on your social media that you found a Bigfoot skull? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's ended up pissing off a lot of, it looks like a lot of people who follow this guy.
As he should. What an asshole.
Yeah, that's
Look,
whack.
I remember first hearing about this. I was in Canada in BC when I saw this headline come through, and I remember how I felt, and I didn't feel much of anything. And it's funny because going back to what I've said so many times, when I saw that PGF film for the first time, something hit my gut that this was authentic. When I caught wind of whatever this guy Coyote Stories was, I got the opposite whiff of just total baloney. And I was like, I don't buy it. I remember I'm here, and I even was like, oh, let me run this past the test here, and I pointed to my father-in-law. I said, hey, looks like someone might have found a primate skull here in BC, and then just nothing. And I was like, okay, yeah, probably fake. So that didn't pass the test either. And it's just like, give me a break. I remember seeing Maria Mayer's comment from Expedition Bigfoot when all this was breaking. She's like, first of all, I'd like to know what primatologists you're reaching out to, because I know most of them. And she was like, second of all, that's a gorilla skull, and it doesn't look like a real one. It looks like it's been faux made. So she was already so on top of it like that.
Yeah. That's what I saw. I was like, well, this looks like a gorilla skull. Even my dumb eyes can tell that, but you know what I mean? But yeah, it was a prop. It was a prop from a movie that they used. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder, it almost makes me wonder if they chickened out and decided to
That's a good
pull
point.
The hoax. Yep. Because it seems like they were rolling it out in a really big way. And then it seems like they chickened out because I think people were sniffed that it was bullshit. But
because think about what they're doing. They're getting the Bigfoot community on board for a hot second, only to pull the rug right out from underneath them. Yeah. You're going to piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, you're going to piss off the BCC boys. Okay, Coyote.
Yeah. It's never coming on this show.
Yeah, that's right. Much. Coyote Peterson, banned for life. You're banned for
life.
Lifetime ban.
BCC ban.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into this week's story of high strangeness. And we're back, and it's time for this week's story of high strangeness. This week, we're taking a look at one little guy, or big guy, I should say. He could be considered little in reputation is what I meant. He's kind of considered to be one of the B-list cryptids. He's not the most popular figure in cryptidom, but he definitely holds his own when it comes to local merch and folklore, and I think he boasts a cult fan base. And the place where he calls home, Lake Okanagan, is not too far from where Bryce is right now. A deep lake nestled in the Okanagan Valley in the interior of British Columbia, located about 400 kilometers northeast of Vancouver. So you could get there in a day. You could get there in a couple hours.
This is close. Okay.
Actually, I kind of feel like you should go over there now that we're doing this because I want some pictures. But Okanagan's waters caress the cities of Kelowna, Peachland, and Summerland, just to name a few places. And legends tell of a monster that dwells somewhere near the location of Rattlesnake Island. Some speculating in a cave deep beneath its shores. Who is this cryptid? His mother was an earwig, his father was a whale, a little bit of head and hardly any tail, and Ogopogo was his name. This spirited little rhyme comes from a song from the early 20th century, which is cited as the inspiration for the modern name of Canada's most famous lake monster, and this week's subject of high strangeness, the water cryptid known as Ogopogo.
Nice.
All right.
Have you guys heard of Ogopogo?
Sure.
I've heard of it. Yeah. Just because it's a fun word.
Yeah, me too. I was like, wait a minute, Ogopogo. Because I was thinking of like, all right, we got to do a lake monster. It's BCC Jet Ski Summer. We've done Nessie. We've done Champy. I was like, Ogopogo. I don't really know too much about Ogopogo. So in a nutshell, he is Canada's Nessie. Good night, everyone. Just kidding.
Good job.
Although I personally believe no lake monster will ever reach the heights of fame like the Loch Ness Monster, there is an undeniable charm about Ogopogo. Ogopogo is described, also, I say Ogopogo a lot in this presentation, so I don't know if you want an Ogopogo drinking game, if that's your thing, or I couldn't stop typing it. I was at one point, I was like, I think I say Ogopogo 50 times in this story. Ogopogo is described as being a multi-humped serpentine beast with green or black skin and the head of a horse, snake, or sheep, and and also green with a snake-like body about 25 meters long. It can swim at incredible speeds, whipping its tail rapidly for propulsion. Similar to Nessie, sometimes the creature is represented as having two horn-like protrusions on the top of its head, hence the goat or sheep comparisons. And you know what we have here, don't you guys? It's a real CSS, a classic sea serpent.
You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that.
I think I can. There's CS's
Just did.
and there's CSS's, classic sea serpent. I want to pause here for a moment and talk about, sometimes in these illustrations of sea serpents and Nessie, you'll see those like little horny knobs on their heads.
Go on.
But like how snails have those like rounded like protrusions on their head. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like sometimes when they draw sea serpents, they have these like knobs on their heads. And I was like, wait, what is up with that? Where does that come from? I've never stopped to go, why would a sea serpent have horns? So I did a little bit of digging, and the horned serpent symbol is, I'm reading off the interweb right now, is one of the many snake-like deities depicted with horns that figure in the mythology of some Native American tribes. The horned serpent is associated with rain, thunder, and waterways. So with First Nations people and indigenous tribes, you do see this recurring motif of a snake with horns that pops up. And I thought that was pretty cool. Horned serpents appear in the oral history of numerous Native American cultures, especially in the southeastern woodlands of the Great Lakes. Muskogee Creek traditions include a horned serpent and a tie snake in the Muskogee Creek language called an Eskaquivnaviv. These are sometimes interpreted as being the same creature and sometimes different, similar, but the horned serpent is larger than the tie snake. To the Muskogee people, the horned serpent is a type of underwater serpent covered with iridescent crystalline scales and a single large crystal in its forehead. Guys, this sounds like a very cool Pokemon.
Totally.
Both the scales and crystals are prized for their powers of divination. The horns, called chitogabe, were used in medicine. Jackson Lewis, a Muskogee Creek informant to John R. Swanton, I don't know who that is, said, "The snake lives in the water, has horns like the stag. It is not a bad snake. It does not harm human beings, but seems to have a magnetic power over game." So there's an established thing, and if you look in Celtic myth, there's horned serpents that come along. And sometimes, like, I was getting into, like, horns on things. The Green Man had horns. Sometimes Moses is depicted as having horns. You'll see statues where Moses... And so it represents wisdom, otherworldliness,
divine
power,
knowledge.
So I was like, okay, so this kind of makes sense that maybe this sea serpent is depicted as having horns if it's, obviously like rain, waterways. If it also is some sort of like spirit or has some sort of like magic about it, I guess, you know what I mean? So unsurprisingly, the legend of Ogopogo goes back hundreds of years, long before European colonizers arrived in British Columbia. The First Nations peoples of the area understood that Naha'atik, which translates to the spirit of the lake, sacred spirit of the lake, I believe, governed the waters of Lake Okanagan. Small animals would be routinely sacrificed to appease the spirit for safe passage across the waters, and horses and canoes would be tethered to trees along the shore so as not to be abducted by the spirit of the lake. Eventually, stories of some sort of water demon or spirit were picked up by traders and settlers moving into the valley. Also, I just want to point out, this is a lot earlier than Loch Ness. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Obviously, we have the old story of Nessie, of St. Columbo, like, summoning a beast and putting him back in the waters. But really, the modern Nessie stuff really starts at the beginning of the 20th century. Here is an eyewitness account. One winter's morning in 1872, Susan Allison, an early settler from England and appears to be a Canadian historical figure, stood on a bluff. She seems to be sort of like a frontierswoman that kids learn about in Canada, from what I could tell. So Susan Allison one morning in winter stood on a bluff overlooking the lake, waiting for her husband to return from Kelowna Mission across the lake during a break in what had been very bad weather. So she's concerned. Her husband's gone off to do some trading, bring some stuff back, and she's like, you shouldn't leave. There's a snowstorm. So the next morning, she's like, is this guy coming back or what? So while she's keeping a concerned eye out for her husband's return, she caught sight of what she believed was the physical embodiment of the sacred spirit of the lake that she had heard about from people in the area. So she wrote in her journal about this incident.
The sun was shining and I stood on the cliff admiring the beautiful lake. Then I observed below the harbor what I first took for an uprooted pine. Then I observed that instead of floating down the lake with the current, it was coming rapidly up the lake toward where I stood. I passed the harbor and still came on with a swift, undulating motion, just like a huge log in the water going the wrong way.
That was a spot-on Susan Allison.
That was really good, Susan Allison. Yeah.
Good.
So it's passing by, swimming against the current and undulating motion. And this the undulating motion is going to be a consistent thing that we hear about when people who think they've seen Ogopogo described. This strange encounter made Susan Allison the first white settler to catch a glimpse of the monster that would one day be known around the world as Ogopogo. She would definitely not be the last. So this is kind of where the local First Nation story begins to become co-opted by colonizers, right? And then we get this story of Ogopogo. So in 1890, a steamboat pilot named Captain Thomas Shorts, my new favorite character name of any High Strangeness story, Captain Shorts. His name is Captain Shorts.
Captain Thomas Shorts.
Do you think he's like an old sea cat? I mean, a steamboat captain, but like, I mean, I guess technically Mickey Mouse is a steamboat captain, and he wears shorts, so he's kind of like Captain Shorts.
Yeah.
But I'm just picturing like an old Canadian man with like mutton chops, wearing like everything correctly on top, but then he's just wearing like boxers on the bottom,
or just like jean shorts, like real shorts.
Jean shorts is great. Cargo shorts. Yeah. I like jean shorts. That's great. So Captain Shorts, he's tooting along in his steamboat, and he spots a 16-foot-long finned creature with a ram-like head peering out of the water. When Captain Shorts steered his vessel in the direction of the creature, it submerged back into the deep waters. Shorts tried sharing his story, but very few people believed him. Maybe because they didn't take him seriously because he was just wearing shorts all the time. It's cold in Canada. Sidebar, at Interlochen Arts Academy, there was a guy I went to school with that refused to wear pants the entire school year. He always wore shorts, and it would be like 8 degrees outside in the snow, and this guy would still be wearing shorts.
There's always one, right? So stubborn. He's like, no, I'm super comfortable. I don't know what you're talking about.
However, the Ogopogo sightings were just about to become more frequent, and word spread that Lake Okanagan was host to a primordial entity. As the monster's legend grew, it picked up the name Ogopogo, most likely first in 1912 after a novelty song written by a Vancouver province reporter named Robert Kenvin called Ogopogo the Funny Foxtrot started playing in dance halls and through Victrolas around British Columbia. By 1924,
hey, you got that good Ogopogo track, the Funny Foxtrot? I can't get enough of it.
I love
that one. Foxtrot.
I like a foxtrot about a weird sea creature. By 1924, the song became more widespread and the name seemed to have stuck. Sightings of Ogopogo were about to boom. Many of the sightings are the same. Passerbys will be driving by the lake or floating through on a boat or standing out on the shore when they catch a glimpse of a dark, undulating mass cresting the lake's surface and remaining visible, sometimes momentarily, at other times for a matter of minutes before disappearing back down below. So I thought we would examine a handful of the more notable eyewitness accounts that I could find, and then look at a couple bits of photographic and video evidence. What do you guys say?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
So I'll put the links to the video that we'll take a look in the show notes of this episode. And then, of course, photos will be on our Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club. Sidebar, guys, if you're not following us on Instagram, you're not getting the complete picture, so to speak, of the show. That's where we put up all the visual aids. We're not on Facebook. We're on Instagram. So get over there and check it out. This story comes from an eyewitness cited as Mrs. Cray, who in 1947 spotted Ogopogo along with a number of other boaters enjoying their time on the lake.
It had a long, sinuous body, hey? 30 feet in length, I'd say, consisting of about 5 undulations, apparently separated from each other by about 2-foot space, in which that part of the undulations would have been underwater, hey? There appeared to be a forked tail, of all things, of which only one half came above the water. From time to time, the whole thing submerged and came up again. Hey, Ogopogo, for sure.
Wow, he's been there for 3 weeks now, people. He's been dying to break it out.
Spot on.
Dying to break out that accent. This is another thing that happens, the forked tail. People say that it has a forked tail.
That's kind of metal. Horns and a forked tail. I'm down with this Ogopogo.
100%. Yep.
It's just one long devil's tongue with horns. That's what it is.
So much undulating, that devil's tongue.
I know. It's like a preacher's worst nightmare.
The undulations, the forked tail, the tongue. Blaspheme.
In 1959, 2 couples, the Millers and the Martins, were motorboating across the lake when Ogopogo started following them. They spotted a, quote, tremendous creature with a snake-like head and a blunt nose, following them from a distance of 250 feet for an encounter that lasted for about 3 minutes. Hey, Bryce, here's an encounter story from a dad on vacation with his children. The individual, known only as John P., reported a face-to-face meeting with Ogopogo. Face-to-face meeting. That really sounds like he was having a business lunch with him. I should have reviewed that. Well, I have some numbers
Ogopogo's like,
to go
couldn't
over
we
here,
have done this on Zoom?
You know, tourism has declined over the past couple of years, obviously, with the pandemic, but I've got a few ideas about how we could spice things up. Could you make yourself more available? So he reported this to the website ogopogoquest.com. Guys, highly recommend you go check this out. There's a very, very devoted Ogopogo researcher who has put this website together. And I gotta say, when it comes to overly devoted, cryptid web designers and web page guys, I don't know what I'm supposed to call this, fans, you could do worse. The Ogopogo one is like better than most Sasquatch websites I've been on. So check out ogopogoquest.com if you just need to kill some time, you're a little bored in an afternoon. So this story came from 2018, but it was 32 years after it originally happened. Why would John P. wait so long to report his encounter? Well, let's take a look at his own words from his report. Bryce, that's your cue. He's muted because he's yelling at a kid. I'll go ahead.
That is so true. Sorry. No, I got it. I'm in. I was muted. I was yelling at a kid. You're exactly right. But here I go. As John P., there may be more yelling to come.
I have not reported this story publicly before now, as it is just too unbelievable. This sighting occurred in late July of 1986. I was paddling a canoe near Ellison Provincial Park, and my 2 girls were trolling for fish. They were about 8 and 10 years old at this time. Since it was dusk and the stars were beginning to be visible, we began to head toward the dog beach at Ellison to head back to camp. It was a warm night. The lake was smooth as glass, and it was a very quiet evening with no motorboaters. We were about 100 meters out from the beach when we noticed a rounded object on the water. The object was not moving, and thinking it was something like a play toy or an inner tube, I decided to paddle over and investigate. As we approached, the first thing I noticed was a strong, fishy smell. When the bow of the canoe was within a meter or so of the object, We noticed it was about 1 foot wide by 4 foot long and had 2 rows of arrowhead-shaped scales running its length. It was dark green in color. We sat there for a few seconds and I asked the kids to reel in their lines. Then we heard a kind of moaning or low growling noise. We realized that about 5 to 10 meters further ahead, there was a large head facing away from us, silhouetted against the dusk sky. The head appeared to be about the size of a horse head, and it appeared to have horizontal, conical-shaped structures like horns. My kids turned to ask what this was, and I said, "The Ogopogo." At this juncture, realizing what I had just said, my hair stood straight up, and my older daughter freaked out and demanded we head to shore. The creature appeared to notice we were there and slowly moved away. It did not move with any undulations, but moved slowly with the head and hump in the same position. Its movement seemed consistent with the idea of a large body under the water, and likely under my canoe, and a long folding neck. After moving off about 50 meters, it turned as if to take a look at us, and then it submerged. This whole incident lasted about 2 minutes. I did have a camera in the boat with me, but was just too shocked to think of trying to use it. We've often returned to Ellison Park to camp and paddle, but I've never seen anything like that again.
That's a pretty good description. That's a pretty detailed eyewitness account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
Beat some of those Nessie reports we read, I think. Here's another one from a witness named James Ivney, who back in 2000 was hanging out on the beach with his girlfriend when they got a little look of Ogopogo.
Is that an innuendo?
No, but it ended up being one, and I didn't mean it.
It's undulating.
So I know, just as much as you write Ogopogo, witnesses like to write undulate.
Yeah, they really do. I think everyone's real horny in Lake Okanagan.
Seems like it.
Here's what James had to say. A girl and I were sitting on the beach talking all night long. Around 5:30 a.m., soon after daybreak, I left the beach to use the public restroom. As I was returning to the beach, I looked out towards Rattlesnake Island and saw what looked like a submarine surfacing. The girl to whom I had been talking to also saw it as well and was pointing towards it. It looked to be about 100 feet or so in length, and it was traveling very fast. About 30 seconds later, it went out of sight, heading south towards Penticton. It looked like it had a wake behind it, which may have made it appear longer. It was clearly not a wave since the lake was almost like glass that morning, with clear skies, no wind, and mild temperatures. The few waves there were very small and extremely slower than what I saw. It was silent, faster than any speedboat I had seen on the lake earlier that week, but with no sound. It was obviously not a speedboat. Faster than a speedboat, wow. A number of photos and films of the alleged creature have been taken over the years, including one in 1968 by someone named Art Folden, but many have later been analyzed with modern technology and written off as either debris or, in Folden's case, a pair of lake otters having a good time. So,
also a notable photo at that.
Mm-hmm, yeah, great photo. I mean, if I got 2 otters frolicking in a lake together, I would frame that picture on my mantle.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd point at it when people come over and I was like, this was the best day of my life. However, a couple sets of photos and stills from a video have not, and from at least one video have not been ruled out, and they seem to show, well, something. A couple of these stills from a 2004 video, that's the moment where my brain collapsed. Right then, that's when it happened. That's when I had too much cryptid nonsense in my head and I could no longer speak. Guys, I'm telling you, my brain has been bad since I had COVID. It's starting to freak me out. So, take a couple stills from a 2004 video, for example. On August 9th of that year, the Casorso family were sleeping in a houseboat in Lake Okanagan when they were awakened by the sudden rocking of the waves. And as the waves banged against the boat, their father, John Casorso, crazy name. That sounds like a last name that a little boy would make up. You know what I mean? Like if he creates a secret agent named John Casorso.
Got a little mob
So
ring
he
to
goes he goes up to the deck where he discovered a large animal, or at least a large black hump, swimming away from what was just moments earlier a very calm houseboat. He managed to grab his video camera, capture footage of the retreating creature, which he estimated to be about 15 meters long and possibly accompanied by more than one other animal. So I put a couple of the stills from the video, which is not available to watch for some reason. But I put them up on the Instagram. You guys take a look. It's hard to tell. I mean, it's like a blue lake. There's humps, but it feels like it could just be waves. But also, all the other waves around this thing are very calm.
Mhm.
So I don't know. What do you guys think? Does this show a sea serpent, or does this just show some shadowy waves?
Inconclusive. Can't say either
Thank you.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they are
Interesting.
inconclusive, like Riley said. Yeah, but they, funny enough, they are reminiscent of old Nessie pictures. You know what I mean? There is a similarity. You know.
I know. So here we're gonna get a look at a couple other photos that are a little weirder. In August of 2008, a local photographer, Sean Villaroya, and his girlfriend Jessica Wagers tried snapping a photo of something with black humps-like ridges in the water just off the shores of Peachland. However, the attempt failed when Virolia's camera died just a little over a week later. Sorry, let me start over, guys. I'm telling you, my brain is falling apart.
Oh
So-
my God.
Sean,
Yeah,
Jessica.
the camera died a week later.
No, I know, and I even
got
used
lost.
correct punctuation.
Ah, yeah.
So they try to take a picture of this thing. His camera dies. But then just a little over a week later, they get a second chance when they spot a similar thing while driving down Highway 97. So Sean managed to get 11 photos of the creature, or the thing, and the photos were analyzed by the local fishing department, a marine biologist, and even the filmmakers of Monster Quest, none of whom could identify the object that he captured on camera. So take a look at these photos, and you know, I want to know what you think. They're kind of weird. Now, in the big photo that we're looking at, you'll see there's a boat, and up to the left, there's like this whitish red thing sticking out of the water. It looks like almost like a tentacle or something.
Yeah.
And if you scroll down, and viewers, if you scroll over in Instagram, you'll see there's some zoom-ins of this weird, long, white, tentacly looking, like crimson and white thing sticking out of the water.
Yeah, man, weird.
I mean,
That could.
doesn't necessarily
be
look like a
anything,
sea
though.
serpent, but
No.
it's weird, and no one can identify whatever the hell this thing is, and it does appear to be moving from photo to photo.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah,
That's
it's
weird.
weird. So finally, in 2018, there was some more video evidence captured, this time on Lake Skaha, which is just a breath south of Lake Okanagan in the valley. And I think a lot of this whole thing is connected by 4 fjords, and like, it even looks like it could be connected through some underground, waterway, because they're right across the highway from each other. This guy, Jim LaRoque, was paddle boating with his son when a long rippled object that appears to be fins, which appears to have fins, drifted by. Are they just waves? Let's take a look at this video and you guys let me know. So Riley, count us in, guys. The link to this video will be in the show notes. This is from globalnews.canada from June 12th, 2019. So Riley, cue us in and we'll take a look at this.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
So right into it, you see
Oh yeah.
what looks like a long undulating thing with fins flapping out of the water.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And this is the guy telling the story. This is Jim LaRoque. He's like, yeah, I was sitting on the dock and filming my son in a paddle boat. This thing goes right past. That's his son in the boat. This thing goes right past
Dang.
him.
That's
That-
crazy.
Swooshing sound. That is crazy.
But you know what? That actually looks like the pictures up above, right? That matches
Exactly.
the pictures that were taken.
And now that's why I wanted to do this last, because then that starts to make sense with these black ridges, these black humps that people say that they see.
That's weird.
So,
yeah, that's strange, man.
There's somebody someone took a look at this video and said, this is in the story. He says, let's see, this is from there's a guy who thinks that this is these are just waves. Where's this guy? Robert Young, an environmental scientist, says it's a product of overturn that happens seasonally where lake layers of different temperatures and depths will pass each other. Okay, that's maybe, but I don't know. It's strange looking, right? It looks like what you would think
strange looking
a lake monster would look like. Now, what it's missing is that classical head that's going to stick out of the water. You know what I mean? Like, if we could see that horse-like head with horns, I'm sold. That's all I need to see.
I want to see that devil tongue and those horns. Hell yeah.
But I can see it does look like flippers are coming out. I mean, maybe it's a school of fish or something. I don't know.
That's the thing. So, it could be like patterned sturgeons moving together, but I don't know. That does look weird, man. I got it.
Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it is some kind of water phenomenon that creates an optical illusion to make it look like a sea serpent.
That's what they want you to believe.
Yeah. So I don't know, guys. Does the water spirit exist in Lake Okanagan? Is there really a sea serpent swimming around? Like I said, the more I look into these lake monsters, the more doubtful I become. Until some real, solid footage on the level of the Patterson-Gimlin footage emerges. Some real, like, Jurassic Park Spielbergian shit. I want that.
Yeah.
I may have to categorize the existence of these creatures in the column of I really, really want to believe. But I don't know. What do you boys think? Ogopogo, bullshit or believe it?
I mean, I don't want to just outright call bullshit on it, because it could be something, some sort of strange creature in a large body of water. That last piece of video is pretty interesting. I know. I also could see that. Well, I could see it being some sort of like weird water phenomenon that your brain just wants to believe it. But the patterning of it's weird. It's weird. It's definitely weird. I can't. Too close to call.
Yeah, had you not shown us that video, we probably would have both leaned towards bullshit, but that video sure helped. Look, I think what you're asking here is like lake monsters, bullshit or believe it, right? I mean, because that was very reminiscent of Nessie. And if people are reporting stuff like that in Scotland and over at Lake Champion, Michigan, and here in Okanagan in the BC, then yeah, maybe it's part of a larger mystery. I love this idea of being a sort of physical manifestation of the spirit of the body of water, right? If these
sort of elemental,
if there is some sort of like elemental energy or activity that can actually manifest itself into physical form, then why not take the form of a sea creature like that?
Mm-hmm. And the fact that the accounts go back so far, and that they're still being seen in the same place, like that says something. Whether or not it's this same phenomenon that's been happening for years that people have been kind of like attributing to a creature or, something else.
Yeah,
I don't want to give any ideas away for free, but if Expedition Bigfoot were to say have a spinoff where you use the same type of technology to find these lake monsters,
right?
Because where to look, right?
Yeah, no, totally, absolutely. I was really curious, as I've been thinking a lot about our last conversation with John Tenney, of course, who our fans reached out and just loved that episode, as they always do, with a great conversation with Tenney. But I'm really looking into this idea of this sort of aquatic Bigfoot, this idea that these creatures are more aquatic than we think, and perhaps are coming from water and into the woods.
Guys,
I like that.
This is why we're doing Jet Ski Summer. This is what aquakineticism is all about.
This is what it's all about.
High strangeness is connected. UFOs, they come from underwater. Bigfoot, it comes from underwater. Ogopogo, it comes from underwater. Guys, I'm telling you, we're onto something with this summer theme.
Yeah. And if there's any Travel Channel executives living, if we can get Ogopogo quest hosted by Michael McMillan going.
Yeah.
As a little spinoff.
And I'm going to have Riley Bray right there next to
Expedition
me.
Ogopogo.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Expedition Lake Monster.
Speaking of ogopogoquest.com, I did check that out while we were recording, and they have some pretty sweet T-shirts they've designed.
Yeah, they really do.
And
a very fun, there's a photo of a very friendly looking sea serpent on the homepage that you better believe I'll be using that as the main photo for this episode on Instagram.
Yeah, it's worth checking out this website. I agree.
Maybe the horns are so when you're riding Ogopogo, you have something to hold on to. You know what I mean?
I would hope so. Hell yeah.
They're handlebars. All right, everybody. That concludes this week's story of high strangeness and therefore this week's episode. Boys, do you have anything to plug?
Not really. Not this week.
Yeah.
I'm just be nice to each other. That's my plug. Just be nice to each other.
I love that. Yeah, let's plug kindness. Kindness to one another. Yeah. I love it.
Shout out to kindness.
Great. I guess in that case, I won't mention my other podcast, Slate Your Name. Season 1 is available right now. If you're bored, you want something else to listen to, go check it out. 16 episodes in season 1. You can bang that out. Bryce is in it. Other past guests are on the show. And season 2 will be coming later this year. Also, we mentioned this earlier this summer. All 3 of us are now on Cameo. And I got to tell you, I've been getting some requests from BCC listeners. It's very fun. I'm having a good time doing these.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah, I just love this. It's a great way to reach out to people who enjoy what we do,
Yeah. So if you got a special occasion or just want to send a fun message to a loved one, we're pretty cheap, all things considered. So head over to Cameo and hit us up. It's been really fun. Surprisingly, I'm like, I like this. This is a good time. So that's
I got to sing a happy birthday in Spanish from Mexico City to someone, and I really enjoyed that very much.
Come on. Riley can sing to you guys. I'll sing to you guys. True. Bryce will sing to you too.
Absolutely.
He'll do whatever. Oh, someone mentioned that I think it was who was it now? Someone it's killing me. I can't remember. Mentioned that the episode a couple weeks ago, it might have been on Patreon where we were talking about how much it would pay, the game of how much it would cost to get Bryce to do something. Embarrassing.
That'd be a good game.
We were calling it the price for Bryce. I think it was Derek Cole. It was Derek Cole, one of our designers, the guy who did the Bigfoot. Derek Cole said it should not be the price for Bryce. It should be called The Bryce is Right. And
The Bryce is Right. That's pretty good.
It's brilliant.
That's pretty good.
Bryce is right. Great job, Derek. All right, everybody. That's it for this week's show. Until next time, good night.
And go get regressed. Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray and Michael McMillan and scored and engineered by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. Do us a favor and support the show and unlock 3 bonus episodes every month by becoming a member of our Patreon, BCC The Other Side, which can be found at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.